Hey, how are you now? Just want to make another video, just to remind myself and all of you of the things that, we don't think about every day. One of those things that I've been thinking of right now is, how our identity is so fractured. How, like, I guess our conception of self, like who we are as people, like the characteristics which you attribute to your name. You say, oh, like, what did that guy do? Oh, well, he did this and this and this and this and this and this and this, and somehow those things add up to who you are, and it's so strange. It's the surface that we see, because we can be sure pretty much with any time that we aren't seeing the full picture. Not with everybody. And that's why psychology is really interesting. I something happened to me the other day that really got me thinking, and I always had a feeling that it was the case. But I leave my building, and every once in a while I see some other tenants chilling, smoking cigarettes or loading stuff into their cars or what have you, and we'll get to small talk. And there's always this one guy. He's every single time, he's always real happy to see me. He's like always like, "Hey, how's it going, buddy?" Like, "Yeah, what you doing?" Like, "Oh, nice, nice." A real bud, like real Canada bud kind of guy. And yeah, he's just so damn nice, like all the time. And I was just starting to think, like, I bet you that guy had something awful happen to him at one point. We tend to think it's like, oh, these people that are so good, like they probably had good lives, like lots of love in their life. Sure, I'm sure he did have a lot of love, but just talking to him the other night outside, I'd known this guy for nearly a year now. I found out 3 years ago, his fiance passed away, like had a seizure in the middle of the night. So real brutal. And he didn't know. Like I guess he found her in the morning, and they lived together, and he's just been dealing with that. I can imagine like losing somebody that you love, like just that's. He gave me some advice on that note, and he said, "Don't sweat the small stuff." It's like when you get one chance at not fucking up, like not dying. So many of us are, we're blessed with good health, and we don't have to worry about having a seizure and dropping dead one of these days. But that's the thing. You wouldn't just know that walking up to the guy, especially if you were just a regular guy, like a rudimentary man or what. If you walk up to this fella, you're not gonna say, "Oh, I bet you your fiance died." Like, these are the things, like we tend to project so much onto people, and I think like appearance wise, that's why I've kind of started to tone it down a notch. Um, and I'm all for people that go all out and enjoy like self expression in the form of fashion and clothes and bright colors. Do what you want to do, but the case is that people are going to make assumptions about you, and there is somewhat of a status quo, you know, to thinking, oh, like you're somebody I can talk to or somebody I can't talk to. It really depends, and it's so strange. Like I've toned it down a notch. Like I can dress up and dress the part and whatever, but I was playing some gigs out in the mountains a little while ago, like year, two, whatever ago, and I was just dressed like oh well, this is how mountain people dress. I'm just gonna but I found a bunch of punks, like a bunch of goth scene emo like punks and stuff like that. And I look over the table and I'm like thinking, yeah, these are my people. These are the guys I hang out with, like generally. And I don't think, like, I walked up to them and I talked to them, and I happen to know like one of five, just from being around town or whatever. But they looked at me like I was from another fucking planet. They're like, "What are you doing?" Like, no one really said anything because people tend to be nicer in small towns. That was a real small place, but I could tell they're taken aback, and it's a really funny thing taking people aback. I imagine like uh, it's just funny. Like I met a bunch of these astrology people too, like recently, and I'm wearing a white T-shirt and jeans and boots and a belt. My shirt tucked in, and like I look like fucking this. Like I look like literally not somebody that has over a decade of occult knowledge, just accumulated and sitting around like bopping up in the old noggin. Like these people, they're like, oh, who's this guy? And we get to talking. one thing led to another. Oh, I like homeschool. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Like, oh yeah, like I really into like this, you know, like learn like self education, you know, because they don't teach you these things in school. No, no. One thing leads to another, and it's like, oh yeah, like oh fuck, I'm into all this esoteric battle, the Golden Dawn, like oh yeah, like OTO, I know all that. Yeah, man, like Virgo, you know, it's all this rising, and I got a lot of work to do, but you know, I can't lie, I do have a stupid amount of stuff bopping up in the old noggin. So when I started, you know, pulling out all the shots on these unsuspecting people, it was quite funny, and I think you know this is just one aspect of identity and surface, you know, reading, like trying to get projections. I think that there are multiple definitions of projection too. It's like people are going to project, like, you know, first of all, like their own kind of states of being onto you, but then it's like the impressions of others, which, you know, are I guess learned by their own state of being as well. I'm sorry if that doesn't make much sense, but like they have a tendency to think, you know, just others. You know, we can think of anybody in any group. There's like normal is just what you're around, but people have a tendency to think in categories, and if they see that you match like a certain category of people, like if you dress like, you know, like you are you're wearing parachute pants and chains, and you've got like, you know, pale make, you might just be like an industrial sort of goth person, and I'll bet you that person, you know, they're gonna project all the stuff on you. Oh, he's probably a dark guy. Oh, he listens to like this music with like these lyrics. People can't really, you know, it takes a really really special person to see like the true light, first of all, behind the eyes, behind the expression, behind the identity, and to think outside of categories. And you know, as somebody, I don't ever want to put myself above anybody, you know, and I like to connect with people like on a heart to heart level. You know, they talk about like heart to heart. It's to not get all caught up in the intellect and overthink things. It's not to get all insecure. It's like literally, if I can make another person feel secure in their interaction with me, that's really that's primo. You know, that's ideal for me. So in terms of like my identity, like I just try to go out there and you know, almost fly under the radar. Not all the time, though. I think that there are certain times when it's important to, you know, like look a certain way. Like I was a performer for many years. I still am. You know, if things ever. But you know, you go on stage, you don't want to just look like some Joe, unless that's your part of it, or I mean, unless that's your shtick. Like I know that that was a thing in hardcore music. People just dress normal, but it's nice to go on stage, you know, like costume is a part of stage, you know, and some people say, oh, this world is a stage, like every day my soul animates my body, like this body is an actor, like, you know, this script called life that we're all running, and more power to them, honestly, like, you know, you want to do that, but I'm just saying, like, people will kind of project identity, or what they think, you know, what they think you are onto you, and that kind of explains my tactic. I was inspired by a local friend. I think he even watches this, but you know, shout out the Gray Man, because the Gray Man is that's a hilarious tactic. It's like there's sleeper agents for all of these weird ideas all over the place, and just as one Gray Man, you know, like is unassumed. I can only guess that there are many of us out there, you know, many people that are thinking differently, and you know, sometimes we don't pipe up. So you know, just keep your mind open. Never ever underestimate the power of just a completely normal looking person, because they might be on a whole other freaking level. Like, and that's what I find just talking to normal people. Every once in a while, I find that guy that, you know, the old man in the woods that can talk to me about history for 3 hours, and you know, like these. Or the guy who knows how to identify Amanita muscaria in the woods. Like, I know that these people exist. So, yeah, you know, this is just an idea about identity. Like, there's so much more to talk to about, but just remember, we're all a confluence of forces. Everybody we ever met, everything we ever did, you know, our hopes, our dreams, our fears. There's so much more that goes into it. But just remember, you know, you're not your body, you're not your spirit. There's so much more. That's everything.